Hello, I'm Cris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. In a 2012 survey by the Plow Foundation, 94% of Shelby County seniors said they wanted to live in their homes for as long as possible. And why not? Like Dorothy said, there's no place like home. Yet census surveys report that nearly half of their respondents felt that their homes would only somewhat meet their needs as they got older. Take a look at your house. How many steps lead up to your front door? As we age, those steps can become a barrier instead of an entranceway. The answer to eliminating those barriers is something called universal design. It's a set of architectural principles that allows universal access to homes and buildings, which means that our homes can adapt to our needs as we age. Tonight, we examine the process of building an ageless house. On a chilly morning in February, 100 or so people gathered in Raleigh for a housewarming. The guests included government officials, representatives of national corporations and foundations, and a sizable cadre of the press corps. The focus of all this attention was the unveiling of the winner of a housing design competition sponsored by AARP, Home Matters, and the Wells Fargo Housing Foundation. The goal was to take a typical American home and use universal design principles to remodel it and create an ageless house.
What's exciting about this project is the design competition opened up this national dialogue among architects and designers to really think about aging in place and homes that can meet the challenges across the lifespan.
Meeting the challenges of getting older means using a set of architectural principles called universal design. It's marked by 3 core architectural conditions: at least one zero-step entrance into the house, doorways with a minimum clearance of 32 inches, and at least a half bath on the main floor. The winning design was submitted by a group of young New York architects working at IBI Group Cruzen Sampton. Their challenge was taking a 50-year-old house and making it ageless.
There's a lot of designs out there that you could get for new construction. That's pretty easy, but to incorporate universal features into a rehab job is a little harder to do.
This is what the house looked like before the renovation, a typical house from the era. But the steps to the front door, the narrow doorways and hallway, the small bathrooms which weren't accessible to wheelchairs made this house the perfect candidate for the remodel. Take a look at these before and after pictures, and you'll see how the ageless design opened up the living space, making it more accessible to all. Some design features are dramatic, like the large vaulted kitchen with wraparound windows. But many of the universal design principles are so subtle as to be unnoticeable. Doorways that are 36 inches wide instead of 32. Kitchen counters that are shorter. An entrance walkway to the house that is actually a handicap-accessible wheelchair ramp to a zero-step front door. And a wooden walkway that wraps around the house to the carport and rear patio with 3 zero-step entrances.
We probably did more in this house than you would do on yours. Again, because it's a demonstration house. We want to be able to show, if you have issues with your bathroom, here's this. If you have issues with your kitchen, here's what you can do. If you have issues with your bedrooms, here's what you can do. Multiple uses was another thing we were trying to explore. How can you take a room that was your kid's room when they were 6 and make it work for somebody who's now 60? How can, and so we've got a lot of open space with some movable walls. So you could use a room for a study or a bedroom or another dining room.
Not only will this design challenge winner be a demonstration home, but the competition sponsors will develop a toolkit to help homeowners, builders, architects, and others bring these housing features to more homes throughout the country. This home now has an owner. 54-year-old Army veteran Walter Moody was chosen as the recipient of this home. His 77-year-old mother, Mary, who uses a walker, will now have no trouble visiting her son at his new home. With 10,000 baby boomers a day, just like Walter, reaching retirement age, there will be a huge need for houses that can allow us to age in place.
Aging in place is important at any age, I think. You know, you never know when you're going to have a life change, so what we like to see is you making your home accessible from the get-go so you can stay with it and you can age gracefully with your home.
It's the investment that individuals and families make in their large asset, their home, and the opportunity to retain that asset and have the home work for them across their lifespan. So there is that benefit. But again, I'll always go back to communities are healthier when all members are able to contribute.
In 2015, the Plow Foundation issued a major grant to several local agencies, led by Habitat for Humanity, to reach out to low-income seniors in Shelby County who need home modifications to enable them to age in place. Habitat volunteers, led by supervisors from MLGW, have built dozens of ramps across the county for low-income seniors who need them for access to their homes. Some home modifications were simple: grab bars in the bathroom or new tile to replace peeling linoleum. But grab bars in the bathroom aren't enough when the bathtub is falling through the floor. Contractors have made major repairs to roofs, floors, bathrooms, and kitchens. The average job cost is $13,000. Research by the Plow Foundation identified almost 8,000 homes in Shelby County needing some sort of aging-in-place modification. With the grant money, leveraged by additional funds, Habitat and their partners will be able to serve only about 350 seniors. Habitat for Humanity's mission is building homes for low-income residents. Every new home they build incorporates universal design principles such as zero-step entries and wider doorways to ensure the new owners can age in place. To take a more in-depth look at universal design and to update the progress of the Plow Foundation's Aging in Place initiative, I've invited two guests into the studio. Leslie Shankman Cohen is an interior designer and one of the first designers in the Memphis area to be certified as an Aging in Place specialist. And Dwayne Spencer is president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Memphis, the lead agency in the Plow Foundation's Aging in Place initiative. We've just seen in the video an example, I guess the ultimate example of universal design principles in place, but give me a concise definition. What is universal design? What does it mean?
Universal design, in a very concise definition, is a design for everyone in every stage of life, in every ability or disability that you may have. The house works for you. You're not working for the house, and it's just a good design that makes good sense for everyone.
Now, you have seen the house. You've walked through the winning house. What are your impressions?
I think they've done a very good job of incorporating a lot of things into this house that may not be necessary for each individual house, but it's open design. There's ramps everywhere. There's raised beds to get into for gardening, which helps with food issues and exercise even. It's got a roll-in bathroom, a roll-in shower. It's got the different heights in the kitchen, so it sort of addresses almost everything that you would address in a universal design project.
And of course, it's supposed to serve as a demonstration home.
Correct.
Do you think it will fulfill that role?
Absolutely. I think it's a great design. I think they did a wonderful job, and it really does showcase a lot of different aspects of universal design.
Now, this was a remodel, which both of you deal with in a professional capacity. From the standpoint of Habitat, who goes in and has been throughout this Plow Foundation grant, you're remodeling homes.
Sure.
What problems does that present from an actual building standpoint, construction standpoint?
Well, the first problem is that we are working with homes that are 70, 80 years old. And outside of the typical aging in place platform of trying to modify handles on a door or lighten a hallway, we are finding that the houses primarily need a roof, or they need a floor, or they have a toilet that's caving in. So it's
bigger problem than grab bars, then.
That's right.
Yes.
Exactly. And then, of course, the clientele that we're working with are living on about $12,000 to $15,000 a year. They don't have the means to actually make these modifications themselves. And so we estimated about $6,500 per intervention, and now we're finding that they're costing more like $12,000 or $15,000 because almost everyone needs a new roof. And as our construction team says, if you don't get it into the dry, then what's the use? You really have to address that issue first.
So sometimes universal design includes concepts such as new roofs and new floors. Now, from a design standpoint, when you're looking at an existing structure, obviously it's not a blank slate.
Correct.
What issues does it create from a design standpoint?
Well, you have to go in and see what the basic footprint is of the design as it is to see if it's able to be modified without much change. So that is it. Sometimes the roll-in shower can't be really put in because of the subfloor, and whether it's on a conventional foundation or a slab foundation, and then you have to jack up the floor. So there's a lot of issues structurally that you have to look at before you can really look at, can I change the design of this?
Give me some examples that you've done recently.
Well, for instance, there's two that I've worked on recently. One is we went in and with very minimal change, we kept the same footprint of this person's house. We took out the cabinets and put a plinth base and raised the cabinets so that they were at a higher level for this gentleman. Of course, changed out the toilet to a comfort height toilet. And then all we did was remove the tub and place in a roll-in shower in the same space that the tub was. So it was a very minimal change, but made all the difference in the world. Another, we did basically the same thing, but it was a much larger space. We kept everything the same, except it was a tub and then a shower next to it. And we removed both of those and made one very large roll-in shower in the same space without moving any walls. So they were very cost-effective, but made a huge change in the way the bathroom was used.
What feedback do you get from a homeowner like that? How does that homeowner's life change because of these design modifications?
It's fabulous. They all call me and say, I was a little skeptical at first. I wasn't sure what you were talking about, and I love it. It's changed my life. I feel more independent, or it's just opened it. It's more contemporary. If they indeed didn't even think they needed these issues taken care of. We look at the aging in place as something that I do for everyone, no matter their age or ability. And across the board, people just really have a positive response to it.
And what kind of feedback do you get? I realize, you may be doing more than just modifying a bathroom as Leslie has done. You may be putting in a roof or a floor or whatever.
We are, but we also do it on our new homes as well. We took up the universal design features probably 10 years ago and decided to make all of our homes accessible, where a wheelchair could get through the door, or there was a zero entrance step off the side of the driveway. We've also done the larger bathrooms where the wheelchair was accessible, and the sort of roll-in showers for the families who needed them.
Is aging in place and universal design principles, are they being accepted in the industry?
It's a slow acceptance. I think it is. There's still a lot of people who don't feel like it pertains to them per se, and not a whole lot of other people who are still in denial about their needs. But depending on how you talk to someone about it and how you present it, I think it's becoming more acceptable, and it's becoming more well known as to what it is. The awareness has been raised a bit.
Now, are there more professionals that are talking about it? Because I remember 7 years ago when I talked to you, we were the only.
I was the only one.
The only CAP certified designer.
Through the Plow Foundation grant with the Home Builders Association, they are teaching the CAPS course now maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I'm one of their teachers, and we're teaching CAPS and universal design to professionals, to PTs, physical therapists, occupational therapists, people in the academic community. So it's not just builders, we're teaching it to everyone and anyone who's interested, and the awareness level is being raised through that.
Let's talk about the Plow Initiative.
Yes.
Because you've finished the grant period, correct?
Well, not exactly.
Not exactly. Okay, explain.
We've had to extend the grant period. Basically, in order to make the dollar stretch, we did some leveraging. And so we took the Plow grant, which was $3.9 million, and essentially turned it into a $6 million pool of funding to serve families. Because again, we started in the application period thinking that the average cost was going to be about $6,500. That quickly turned into about $13,000 to $15,000. So we went back to the foundation and had to lower the estimate of 500 families down to about 350 interventions. And then we went and found additional dollars, and as of late, we've had to sort of extend the period out and reopen the application opportunities for families to call in and apply once again. And so now we think we're going to be finishing in the next 3 to 4 months.
What about sustainability? You said you've already put together money from outside, but what about sustainability beyond that period?
Well,
because the reason I ask is because the need is so great. Because the Plow Foundation identified almost 8,000 homes in the Shelby County area that needed some sort of modification.
Well, one thing I'll say is I'm talking to anybody who will listen. I've had conversations with from the mayor to city council to other foundations and corporate partners who are not just supporting our new house construction, but they're also starting to support aging in place. But we are doing something very, I think, innovative. And I found it interesting, Leslie, that you said that you guys are training occupational therapists and nurses, because we have just formed a new collaboration and partnership with Methodist Healthcare Foundation. And we're looking to bring a concept called Capable to Memphis, where it's a Johns Hopkins model, where you partner together the sort of formal aging in place with the additional feature of a medical professional. So at this point, our construction team will go out and do a scope of work and identify the interventions that need to take place, sort of from their own professional viewpoint. With the occupational therapist or registered nurse going with them, there is a medical observation that takes place and a deeper conversation with the homeowner about how they want to live out their lives in the home. And then it's coupled with the Methodist Healthcare Foundation's goal of lowering the number of seniors, specifically in 38109 here in the city, who are going repeatedly to the emergency room, usually for non-emergency issues, almost using it as their primary care. And so together we think that we can have a really significant impact on this clientele.
How important is the issue of aging in place and creating ageless homes? The reason I ask that is because we know that in a little over a decade, 20% of our population will be over age 65.
Right.
So how important is aging in place to America and to its citizens?
I think it's extremely important. I'm sure you've heard of the silver tsunami, all the people who are becoming of the age that will require these issues. But I also think it's important to have all of our homes, everyone's home, designed with universal design features, because then you get into more viable communities because people aren't moving. It's not as transient. People stay in their homes longer if their home ages with them, if you will. And it keeps communities together. It's more social. It raises the tax base because the homes are viable for a longer time. I mean, it's a domino effect. So it's just a great idea all across the board, and not just for the aging population. You also get into multi-generational housing and people of all ages living in the same house. So it's not just for old folks, as we say.
Dwayne, your thoughts?
I would agree with that. We hear, because we're trying to do our work more holistically. So we're erecting new houses for low-income families and doing revitalization and blight remediation, and then sort of coupling the aging in place with that. What we're hearing is that folks want to see seniors remain in a community. They're the anchors. They're the watchdogs on the street. They know all of the neighbors and what's happening, and that institutional knowledge in the community is very important.
Well, the community health, as was pointed out by Lisa Ryerson from the AARP Foundation in the little video piece,
Right.
I think is important. But also is there not an economic benefit? Is it not better to keep people in their homes rather than in an institution? Because there's got to be a huge savings there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to address that? Or?
Well, I'm not an expert, but we are definitely hearing from the experts that there is a huge savings. We know that it's very expensive for anyone to be sent to a nursing home outside of the fact that they don't want to go. But especially if the senior has any sort of great medical issues, then the cost is exponentially greater. And usually the population that we're serving it will have to be paid for by Medicare or Medicaid, and then that's a cost to all of us on the backside. So if we can be preventative in care and in the interventions to keep seniors in their homes for longer, then there is a savings to us universally.
There's also, if I may, there's also the added benefit of not having to do as many remodels, which is beneficial for the homeowner himself. There's not his out-of-pocket expense to have to go in and remodel the home as he ages. It also keeps extra housing stock off the market because people will stay in their homes and don't have to worry about selling their house, buying a new house, and that goes back to the community too, of keeping the community intact.
I'm curious, is there anything that local, federal, state government is doing to incentivize aging in place home modifications? Or is it all just coming from grants like the Plow Foundation or from independent
I don't know about
businesses?
incentivizing, but I was at a conference recently where we go to Washington, D.C. as a cohort every year. It's called Habitat on the Hill. And I did hear from an associate that a congressperson from Michigan was talking about introducing some legislation to address aging in place and to start the first designated dollars to address this issue across the country. And so that's music to my ears.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the better question, should there be an incentive? Should the federal, state, or local government incentivize
I think
this?
if first and foremost, if seniors can benefit from it, then yes. And secondarily, if there are budget constraints to our federal budget, then it obviously makes sense for us to invest in preventative care.
Yeah.
And measures.
Last question. I know viewers will be watching this and may be intrigued by universal design and what we're talking about, aging in place. What advice would you give them when they look at their homes? What should they be looking for?
In my opinion, the first things they need to do is just look around their home and see if there's any impediment to the way that they move. Is there something that's bothering them? Do they have to walk around something to get to something? Are they continually tripping over their rugs? Do they have trouble getting up and down out of the tub or using the bathroom in different ways? Can they turn their faucets on? So they can look at things for themselves and see. There's simple measures that can be taken, and then of course there's the more expensive and full remedies to be taken. The other thing I would say is look at your family members. It's not just for older people. You might have a younger family member who has broken a leg playing football, or you might have your Aunt Bessie who can't come inside your house because she can't get up the front stairs. So I think if people would just open their eyes and sort of look with a different view of their surroundings, then they would see the benefits.
I would agree with all of those. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being on The Best Times and talking about this important issue of aging in place.
Thank you.
For more Aging in Place resources, go to the website of the National Aging in Place Council. Want more information about life after 50? Go online to watch more shows and find more resources. And send us your feedback and story ideas to besttimes@wkno.org. That's all for this edition of The Best Times. Please join us next week for more stories about life after 50. Until then, I'm Cris Hardaway. Thanks for watching. Good night. Funding for The Best Times is provided by